Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker. Today we will be exploring the fascinating and sometimes challenging intersections of history and property. We're going to take a deep dive into the powerful piece in American history looking at Nat Turner and the land. When we talk about Nat Turner, often images float around the 1831 rebellion in Virginia. That was definitely a pivotal moment because it was an act of resistance against slavery. But one might say, well, how does real estate connect to this narrative? I'll explain. To understand this, we have to go back to the very foundation of the American South's economy, which was agriculture, specifically plantations. See, it wasn't just about owning land, it was about owning people to work that land. Enslaved individuals were, in the eyes of the law, considered property, assets tied to the value and productivity of the land itself. Nat Turner was born into slavery on a plantation in Southampton County. The land he lived on, the fields he worked on, were all considered the property of the enslavers. Even his own body was considered the property of his enslavers. The wealth of these enslavers was directly tied to the acreage that they controlled and the number of enslaved people they owned. The enslaved people, although they worked the land, they normally would never own any of it. Their families could be and often were torn apart by the sale of the land or the sale of the individuals itself. So let me give you an example real quick. So let's say, for example, I have land, and let's say I own 350 acres. But for some reason, let's say maybe because I'm getting older and I don't need as much, I decide to sell 150 acres of land. So whoever was toiling the land that I was selling, that enslaved person would also go to the other enslaver who bought the property from me. So if your husband was over there working that land that I'm selling and you're over here working the land that I'm keeping, guess what? The husband and wife is separated. The kids are separated from their parents that way as well. So I hope what I just explained made sense. If not, please comment down below in the comment section. Okay? So now the other thing I wanted to touch on is this. So even today we got wills, deeds, and probate records, right? But back then they had those, but those didn't just talk about what land and what physical property like houses and stuff was on it. It also had the names of enslaved men, women, and children on those very wills, deeds, and probate records. So see, when Nat Turner had his rebellion, that uprising that he formed against the individual enslavers, that basically broke, to a certain extent, the system of human beings as property and land as the ultimate source of power and wealth. See, here's the thing. The rebellion, it hit the heart of the economic stability of these historical estates. All right. In the aftermath, the property values of those homes in that area and surrounding areas were all affected because now they were afraid, because they realized that, hey, slavery, although it made them successful, when you are treating people in an unjust manner, that makes your society unstable. Okay. And so That when your society is unstable, a lot of times what? Your profit is going to be unstable too. All right. So my thing too for you guys to know is when you go touring and you go traveling and you look at a lot of these historic plantations, you often what? Admire the architecture and the landscape and the vastness of everything, right? But listen, it's very crucial to remember the full history of the land. Okay. Yes, there was a lot of wealth creation there, but it was built on the backs of people who were dehumanized and exploited. We can't forget that. You got to remember both. Okay. You got to be balanced and face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. You got to realize that land ownership, wealth, and slavery, they were intertwined. You know, no matter how sobering it may sound, the stories that your feet walk on, the ground beneath your feet, hold stories of struggle and resistance. So guys, listen, hey, I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this history of property. Let us know in the comments below if you found this discussion insightful. Please like the video, share it, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a good night.